Hello students, we are going to learn polynomials and factoring is what we're going to do next. Okay, that's the name of this next unit here. Right here you can see a list of the things we're going to be talking about. Let's see if I can get all those unselected. Okay, there we go. So first we're just going to introduce polynomials, then monomials times polynomials, um, some more multiplying, dividing of them, a review, have a quiz in there, and then we get into this thing called factoring. And you've factored before with numbers. We're going to be factoring with polynomials, and factoring is going to be a good chunk of there's lots of different ways that we can factor. And of course, we'll end up with the test. All right, so let's get started with polynomials. So first off, what a polynomial is it's, let me see if I can get this where I want it to be, an expression consisting of many terms. Right? An expression consisting of many terms. It is poly means many. You may have learned that in different classes. Nomial means number. Um, so we use numbers, or we represent numbers with actual numbers like this 2 you see, but also, the variables x. X is also a number. X will be the most common variable we'll see, but it doesn't have to be the only one. So an expression consisting of many terms, many numbers, many terms. Okay, standard form. Standard form is a way that we write polynomials, and it must be written in alphabetical order with the highest exponents first. So you go in descending order, which means you start with the largest exponents and go down. If there are more than one variables, usually we go alphabetical order. So, like A would come before B and so on and so forth. We're kind of used to seeing them written that way anyway. All right, an example of a polynomial is right here. 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus 4x plus 7. And the highest exponent is called the degree of the polynomial. All right. So, for example, this one that we just were looking at has a degree of 3 because 3 is the highest exponent. This is in standard form as well because the highest power is written first. Then the next one is the power of 2. This one has a power of 1. No, we don't write it. And this last one, it still has a power. It's technically x to the 0 power. But since anything to the 0 power is equal to 1, and that would be just 7 times 1, we don't write it in. Okay, so yeah, this is degree 3. Okay. Classifying polynomials. So we classify polynomials by their degree and by the number of terms. Okay. So all polynomials, yep, are classified by the degree and number of terms. So the degree, if it's a degree of 0, meaning there's no variables, I want to make a note there, no variables. That is when it's 0. Okay. And then degree 1. So degree 0 is no variables. It's called a constant. Degree 1, that means it's just x. So the first power is the biggest degree that there is. That's called linear. Degree 2, we call quadratic. Degree 3 is called cubic. That one's maybe easier to remember because third power we a lot of times call it cubic. And the fourth power is called quartic degree. Okay, and it does keep going on from there, but we're not going to see too many above the fourth power. Number of terms. One term is a monomial. We've talked about that before, I believe. If there's two terms, then it's a binomial. Three terms, trinomial. And we don't have any fancy terms for anything more than three, so four or more we just call polynomial. All right, so classify the following polynomials um, by degree and number of terms. So the first number we're going to write is the degree, and then we're going to call it by its degree and then the number of terms. So this is degree 0. So that is a constant. See how well I'm writing with a mouse here. It's constant, and it has one single term all by itself, so that is called a monomial. Okay. This next guy, negative 2x. So it does have one variable, and it's to the first power. So that is degree 1, that is linear. The reason we call it linear is if you were to graph it, it would represent a line. Now it does have one single term. There's no addition signs or subtraction signs. That's a negative sign, not a subtraction sign. So that is going to be, anyway, it's going to be a monomial, like the one above, because there's one term. Okay, this next guy, look at the highest degree is degree 1 there, so that's, again, linear. And there's two terms, so we call that binomial. So two terms means binomial. Think of like a bicycle has two wheels. So two terms. All right, this next guy, the highest power is a degree 2 on the x. So degree 2, that is quadratic. Quadratic, and three terms is a trinomial. Like a tricycle, three wheels, so trinomial. All right, this next guy, highest power is degree 3, that is a cubic. And it has two terms, binomial. Okay, and this next one, the highest power we see there is degree 4. Okay, so that is a quartic. Quartic. And it's got 4 terms. We don't have a special name, so we'll just call it a polynomial. And technically all of these are polynomials. We just have more specific names for some of them. Okay. All right. So now these ones that they give us are not in standard form, meaning they're not written from highest power to lowest. So we're going to rewrite them so that they're in the right form. Okay, so for number 7 here, the highest one is this 2x squared because it's got a power of 2. This one's got a power of 1, and this one technically is x to the 0 power, right? So that's why it's like a power of 0. So anyway, the way we want to write it is 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. All right, this next one, the highest power is a power of 3, so 7x to the third. Next one would be plus x squared, because it's a positive x squared, we'll write plus. Next is this x term, because it's got a power of 1, and it's got a minus sign in front of it, so we'll keep that minus sign in front of it, so minus x. And then the one that has no variable on it at all, which is 64, goes last. There you go. All right, this next one is almost in order. It's just these two have to switch places because this has degree 1, this is degree 0. So x cubed plus 5x squared minus x plus 28. All right, for this next one, the power of 3 is the biggest, but be careful with this one. Notice that it's got the minus sign in front of it. So that minus sign, since there's nothing going to be in front of it anymore, it just becomes a negative sign. So negative x cubed, and then the next term is x, so plus x, and then plus 24, since it's a positive 24. We'll do plus 24. If it was a negative 24, we'd do minus 24. Alrighty. This next one, okay, so this one's going to be kind of tricky. First off, we'll lead off with 3 A's. Since A comes first in the alphabet, and this is the term that has the most A's in it. So A to the 3rd power. All right, next, so let's just cross that one off. Next, we'll go with the term that has the second most A's, and that's this guy, 5a squared b squared. So, and plus 5a squared b squared. Okay, next one must be 2ab, because this last one doesn't have any a's on it. So we'll go plus 2ab is our next term. Get rid of that. And then minus 2b cubed. If this one is a little trickier for you, one way you can think about it is a cubed could be written out as a times a times a. 5a squared b squared could be written as 5a b b, and then 2ab would be the same, but then you could do minus 2b. And you can think of these as like words, kind of. And if you were looking them up in the dictionary, AAA would come before AABB, which would come before AB, which would come before BBB. Okay. So that's another way to think of it. There. All right. This last one is similar to those others. What color have we not used? Let's go with the orange. Okay. So in this case, x is our alphabetically first term. So this negative x cubed first. Oh, negative. Almost forgot it. Now, which one has the next most x's is this guy. It's a minus 7x squared y squared. Okay, next would be then, well, so now we don't have any x's on either of these. So the next thing would be then, well, this one still has a variable on it at least, so that'll be next. One thing to help you, if there's a constant term, that means a term with no variable on it, always goes last. Okay, the constant term without a variable is always at the end. So next we have 5y cubed plus 13. And there it is. Okay, so, oh yeah, we do have a little more to it. Okay. But yeah, that is standard form. Okay, next up is adding and subtracting polynomials. This is very similar to what we've done in the past. Now, when you're adding two polynomials, it's fairly simple. Just make sure you only combine the like terms, okay? So let's focus on the like terms here. So first off, I see the x squared terms. I like to start with the ones that are the highest powers, because then I can start writing in standard form right away. So those guys added together -2, and you only add the coefficients. That's the -2 and the 3. So you can almost ignore the x squareds for a little while. but -2 plus 3 is +1, so 1x squared. And you don't have to write a coefficient of 1 in, but I'm just going to for now. All right, so now we're done with those. All right, next let's go with the x terms. So we have a positive 18x plus a negative 8x. So when you add 18 plus -8, that gives you positive 10. So I'll do plus 10x. And then that leaves us with 15, positive 15 plus negative 10. And that, when you add those together, gives you a positive 5. And there is our simplified polynomial. Again, don't have to have the 1 in front of the x squared. Okay, so that's adding, subtracting. Notice I cannot combine these because they don't have the same kind of terms. Now let's check out these ones. Now with subtracting, we're going to switch up the second polynomial a little bit. So the first one stays the same, 6x squared minus or plus 7x. But then we're going to add the opposite of the whole second polynomial. So the opposite, remember, that means you use a negative sign, but really all it means is I'm going to now, instead of subtracting, I'm going to write a plus sign here. And I'm just going to change the sign of everything in there. So that's going to be plus, now we're going to have a negative 10x minus, or plus a negative 3x squared plus a negative 2. So now I change the signs of all those ones because add the opposite. Okay. So this can be kind of tricky. Just remember that everything in the second polynomial, its sign changes. If there were any negatives or minuses in here, they would become pluses. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so now we combine the like terms. So we've got, I'm going to use a different color here. The x squared term, so 6x squared with the negative 3x squared. Add those, you get positive 3x squared, 7x, and negative 10x. That makes negative 3, so minus 3x. And then there's only this constant term. This is the only one, so you can't combine it with anything. So it just stays as a minus 2, negative 2. And there's our final answer there. And notice how both of these are in standard form because the highest power is first, next highest is second, and the power of 0 term is last. All right, so I want you guys to try out these. Okay, so you simplify this, you get an answer, and then you'll try to find that answer up here. Okay, and then say like 1 is B, let's just say, or it's 4x plus 11, so that ends up being option B. So then look for number 1 up here, number 1. So then a B would go here. Now I don't think that's actually true. I was just, making it up. And then there's no other ones, but so okay. Good luck. Have fun with that. After this will be homework 1 that I want you to do. Oop.